Your gifts aren't really gifts unless you're sharing them. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about energy blocks, how to identify your gifts, and why they're the key to unlocking your success. Hey, I'm Michelle Reese, founder of the Align Agent Academy, where I get to help agents like you create a multi-figure business by increasing productivity and reducing the overwhelm. And today, I'm going to show you how. Hey there, welcome back. Today, I'm going to introduce a concept known as energy blocks, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why your gifts and strengths are the key to unlocking your potential and success. First, let me start off by saying that I believe that you, every one of us, has a unique set of strengths, gifts, and talents that we are meant to bring into the world and especially into our business. But I always find that it's interesting that when we meet people who are really successful or are up to doing amazing things, that we automatically start to look at what those skills and strengths and talents are, and then we attribute that to their success. Now, that's exactly true, but here's the trap, is when you start to see those traits and emulate them thinking that that's how you have to be. And it's really important to understand that people achieve the level of success, that massive success that we're looking for, because they are who they are, because they've had the chance to really embrace what their unique skills and strengths and talents and passions are. Now, all of these things that make us unique are intended for us to use. We are supposed to be being intentional and purposeful with how we bring them into the world. And when we don't, this is when we find that we meet resistance, we meet struggle, and things just feel really, really hard and difficult for us to get to where we want to go. Which is why I started off today's episode by sharing with you that gifts aren't really gifts unless you're using them. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what happens when we aren't embracing and using and aligning with our skills and strengths and talents and passions, and what happens in terms of the energy blocks of our business. But before I dive in, let me know if anything that I've shared with you so far has started to resonate. Anything about gifts or talents or energy blocks. Maybe that's a concept you've already been used to hearing. If so, give me a thumbs up, and while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Now, many of you might not know this about me, but I'm a certified Reiki master. Now, I say this not because it's something that I wanted to ever practice or teach, but it was just part of my self-discovery journey of learning more about who I was and what were my unique sets of strengths, talents, and gifts. And I knew very early on that I was somebody who likes to really explore and be curious, and who also likes to go deep with people and deep with things. It's my learning process, and so that's the reason why I decided to go the full way and become a certified Reiki master. Now, what I'm going to do with you today is to be able to share some of that knowledge that I've learned and that I've used in my life, and bring that here into today's episode so that you can start to understand a little bit more about energy blocks, the chakras of the body, and what all of this means in terms of you being able to use or not use your gifts. Before we begin, I think it's really important to recognize, first of all, that in order for you to unlock your potential, you first have to understand and know what your gifts are. So many of us reach a point in our lives where we come to ask ourselves the question, who am I? You know, what is it that I really want? What is it that I aspire to do or be? And that whole road of self-discovery is one that I've always been fascinated by. But it really is the place where you really start to learn who you are as a person. And the deeper that you can go into that level of learning about who you are, that level of self-awareness, the more fulfilled you can start to now make your life and your business. Now, your gifts are really your strengths, your talents, your passions, your perspective, and all of this is influenced by the experiences that you've had. Now, some of our gifts are easier to spot than others, but there's some times where we haven't even yet discovered them, or where we kind of know they're there, but we've tucked them and buried them away. We've heard countless stories of people who have, worked on a farm their entire life, and then they reach that age of 60 where all of a sudden they start to pursue this passion of painting, and now they become famous. We've heard stories of people like Vera Wang, who spent most of her adult life as a figure skater and a journalist, only to really find that courage to embark on something that she truly loved, which was fashion and bridal design. So the question is, what are those talents that are hiding deep within you? Because those are the things that we want to try and tap into today so that you can start shifting your perspective on how and where you use them. Now, your gifts and your talents really leave clues into your happiness, your fulfillment, really leave clues into how you can unlock the business that you've always wanted. Now, think about it like this. Your gifts are energy. And everything around us is energy. The chair that you're sitting on, the phone that you're holding to watch this, everything is comprised of energy, including your gifts and your strengths. And when you aren't using those actively and being engaged in them, that energy remains stagnant. And just like water, energy needs to flow. And if it's not flowing because you're either holding it back or you're blocking it, it starts to manifest and build up. And what I want to talk to you a little bit about today is the relationship between you using your gifts, these energy blocks, and why they might be the resistance that you're facing in your business today. I'm going to give you 3 questions to really start to contemplate on to help you down this self-discovery road about being able to identify what your gifts are. So here's question number 1. Question number 1 is, how did you love to spend your time as a child? You know, what were the things that lit you up? What did you spend hours doing that just felt like time had passed, so quickly and easily? Question number 2 is, what do you find most people come to you for? Are you somebody that is, great at analyzing situations and can really figure out a problem? Are you somebody that's a great listener and is compassionate, and so people come to you to talk? What are the things that people can rely on you for? And the third question for you to start looking at what are some of the gifts and strengths that you do have are really looking at our core values. What are the things that are important to you? Is it honesty? Is it relationship? Is it integrity? Is it loyalty? What are the key values that are important to you that you look for in other people and that you value in yourself? Now, your gifts and your talents really leave clues into your happiness, your fulfillment, really leave clues into how you can unlock the business that you've always wanted. And when you aren't using those actively and being engaged in them, that energy remains stagnant. And it's almost like trying to push a boulder up a mountain, right? It feels really, really hard and it feels very heavy. And that's not how you're supposed to be operating in your business. That's not how the flow of energy is supposed to go. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about our 7 chakras in our body and what these energy blockages look like. Now, chakras literally translates to the word wheel. So I want you to imagine for a moment that we have 7 chakras in our body, and they are these discs and wheels that continue to spin. Now, when they're spinning, that means energy is flowing and moving. But when an area of our body gets stuck or energy becomes trapped or blocked, that flow of energy is interrupted. And that's when we start to see some physical, spiritual, and emotional symptoms. Now, here's a really great example. We've all been in situations where, we've wanted to say something. Maybe it was you heard something and somebody was incorrect and you wanted to correct them, but you were too afraid to. Or you had an opinion to share, but you didn't feel like, people would approve of that. And so you hold that energy in. Now, think about that. We all have a gift of communication. In fact, that's one of the things that I like to review with agents in DISC profiles, is that ability to communicate effectively. And we all have our own strengths and ways of doing it. Now, I've talked about the DISC profiling and blueprints in another video, so make sure you go and check that out. But for the purposes of today's episode, the example I want to give is, imagine you're in a room and you want to say something. And something is stopping you. Maybe it's the fear that people won't approve, or maybe it's the fear that you're going to get it wrong, or maybe you just don't feel like your opinion matters. Whatever the reason is, you being able to block off that natural ability to communicate starts to build up energy. And what you'll start to notice is you start to feel maybe a lump in your throat, or you start to feel some fluttering going on, and then that energy starts to build all the way up through your chest, and you start to feel the butterflies. That's a perfect example of energy that's not able to flow. Now, imagine how often we disconnect from our natural strengths and gifts and talents. But there's times in our lives where we are given information or we translate information that makes us feel as though we can't or shouldn't be that way. And so we shut it down. And when you shut down that throat chakra, which is your ability to effectively communicate, you start to physically feel the symptoms show up. Imagine what else is going on in your body, when you are cutting off these energy sources. And so it's really important for you to understand that each and every one of your strengths and gifts, whether it's your ability to calculate numbers and think logically, whether it's your ability to be compassionate and really feel people and be able to meet them where they are emotionally and spiritually, whatever those gifts are and the way they show up for you, those are your cues and those keys to you being able to unlock your potential. Because the more that you can start working in alignment with those gifts and strengths, the easier things go. And when there's ease, there's flow. So what you don't want is to have all of this stagnant, built up, blocked energy, because that will start to manifest. And this is when we start to feel stressed and anxious, when we start to feel frustrated. And those things can translate to real physical symptoms. People start to experience back pain, headaches, sore throats, ear infections. All of these things can manifest into physical symptoms. But more than that, your ability to really live that fulfilled life through your business, to be able to make an impact for yourself and for the people around you, requires you to be in alignment. And we've talked about other ways of being in alignment, but today it's really about understanding that those gifts that you have are unique to you, and they've been given to you for the ability for you to be intentional and purposeful with them. And if you're not tapping in and understanding and learning what those gifts are, then you're not utilizing the energy and you are blocking that life source off. And so I hope today gave you just a bit of an overview on, the chakras, the energy blocks. Now, I didn't go into too much detail about our 7 chakras, but if that is something that you guys are interested in, let me know. Leave it in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and of course turn on that notification bell. But I hope what you found today was a bit of a shift in perspective, maybe a bit of an awareness or an awakening to the fact that all of these gifts that you've been given cannot be gifts unless you are sharing them and using them. Thank you guys so much for joining me back here again this week, and I look forward to seeing you again, same time, same place next week. Bye for now.